Management Associates. I'm just waiting right now to have YouTube confirm that we're on the air. Again, I don't know. Okay? YouTube has been doing this for quite some time now, and quite frankly, I'm getting a little bit perturbed by it. I believe we're waiting to go on the air right now. I don't know what to say. This is crazy. I show we're on the air right now on my device here, but now we're on the air. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates, everyone. My name is Ron Tyler. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We've wanted to go on the air for about 15-20 minutes now, and we've had weather issues. I've also fielded a couple phone calls from a couple of our mods and one or two of the other family members, EMA family members here, and now we're on the air. Highway Runner is one of them that just called me and gave me some information I'll give to you in just a minute. Dustin Cadwick is here. Thank you. Hi, Dustin. You're the first one in. Demon Catman from the east of England's here. Highway Runner, Catherine Sigerson is here. Annette Louise Walker is here. Hurricane Heather is here. Sheila Dean is here. I'm waiting just for another minute or so to get more people in here. Kim Possible is here. Songstress Griffin is here. Alan Newton is here from Oregon. Sleeping Volcano is here from Colorado. We appreciate each and every one of you here with us. Thank you so much, guys. We appreciate and love you guys here. I'm just waiting to get some more mods in here. What we're going to talk about may trigger some trolls here, and so I'm just waiting for that to happen. I want you guys, or giving you guys a heads up, we may get hit with some trolls. I just got a call from Highway Runner. She's in Missouri, and she just saw on the highway a large caravan of military vehicles headed south. We don't know where they're going. This is the only update we have on these military vehicles that are headed south, but a large caravan of military vehicles are headed south in Missouri. That could be anything. It could be from the Pneumatid Fault. It could be almost anything right now, literally. Okay? I'm just saying, it could be anything. It could be the Pneumatid Fault. It could be having to do with the crisis in our country right now, and we're going to talk about that significantly tonight, but I wanted to give you guys a heads up about that. Yes, we have had some earthquakes. We have had some earthquakes. We have not had any significant earthquakes today. We've had several 5.0s. The first 5.0 I'm going to is over here in the Northern Mariana Island region. These are actually south of Japan. The Izu Island region here in the, let me show you here. There's this deep submerged ridge here. Right here it's called the Mariana Island region here. This is the deepest cavern in the ocean. This is the deepest cavern in the ocean. Over here in the Izu Islands we had a 5.2 large earthquake earlier today. This happened at 2:36 a.m. this morning, Eastern Time. Over here, just off the coast of Japan, off the coast of Hasaki, Japan, this is a moderate 4.7 earthquake, 25 kilometers deep. Right here along the coastline of Japan here is another 4.4 moderate earthquake, 3 kilometers west of Ushiku, Japan. Okay, right along the coastline. Down here over on the eastern side of Luzon Island, Philippines, we have another 4.7 earthquake. This one is 10 kilometers deep. 10 kilometers deep. Okay, I'm not saying this is any big deal. It's not. I want to go over to Vanuatu area. We've had numerous earthquakes here in the last little while here in Vanuatu. This is another 5.0 earthquake here today. This is again near East Angle, Vanuatu, where we had a 5.3 here yesterday. A 5.3 yesterday in East Angle, Vanuatu, and another 5.0 earthquake there today. It was far enough offshore that it didn't create any havoc. This was a large 5.0 earthquake, but it didn't create any havoc because the ocean waters of the Pacific Ocean absorbed the shock waves. We go over here to Fiji area. Fiji area. This one is another 4.4 moderate earthquake, but this is a deep quake. This is a very deep earthquake. This is a 4.4 moderate quake, 249 kilometers east of Labuka, Fiji. However, this is a very deep earthquake. This is going to propagate a stronger, more shallower quake. This is 594 kilometers deep, a very deep earthquake. This is going to propagate probably a 5.8 earthquake. This will propagate, I'm going to say a 5.6 to a 5.8 earthquake. Okay, just to say. Okay, so we're going to have another very large earthquake here within the next 5 to 10 days. 3 to 10 days, actually. Okay, over here also in Fiji, the Fiji regions. This is another 4.6 here. Also very deep earthquake. It's 589 kilometers deep. Actually, 590 kilometers deep. Okay, that's a deep earthquake. It's also going to propagate another 5.6 to 5.8 earthquake in the next 3 to 10 days. Okay, we had some earthquakes yesterday that were going to propagate a 5.8 to 6.0 earthquake in the same region. So somewhere between Papua New Guinea here and the Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, over here into Fiji and Tonga, we're going to see some 5.6s to 6.0 earthquakes here in the next 10 days. So be aware of this. Be very much aware of this. Okay? This is where all the earthquake activities happen today. Yes, we've had some smaller quakes. We have had some smaller quakes. We had an earthquake over here in the Aleutian Islands. This was another 5.0 earthquake. This one is not deep. It's a very shallow earthquake, being 103 kilometers deep. Not a deep earthquake at all. You can see about 60 earthquakes here in Alaska, though. 60 earthquakes in Alaska. All of these are anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5, 2.7 earthquakes. Minor earthquakes. Minor earthquakes. Over in Hawaii, we're still seeing earthquakes around Kilauea. We're still seeing earthquakes around Kilauea, just like we talked about last night. Southern Mexico. Even though the USGS is only showing us a 4.8 earthquake here, there are at least 3 dozen earthquakes. 36 to 40 earthquakes here in southern Mexico. USGS not telling us about anything but this 4.8. Yes, the 4.8 is the upper side of a moderate quake. Okay? 10 kilometers north-northeast of Totoltepec de Valdez, Mexico. Mexico, southern Mexico, okay? This is at the border region of Guatemala and Mexico. I wanted to zoom in here as soon as this map resolves itself here. I want to show you where this earthquake is. It's in the mountainous coastal regions of southern Mexico. This is exactly where we've seen earthquakes here in the past. Okay? This is exactly where we've seen earthquakes here in the past. But USGS is not showing all the earthquakes. There are about 36 to 40 earthquakes here in southern Mexico, and they're not showing them to us. Okay? There are about 10 earthquakes here in Central America. 10 earthquakes here in Central America, from Panama, Costa Rica here, going up to Nicaragua and El Salvador, and including Guatemala here. Most of these are off the coast or over here in Costa Rica. These earthquakes in Costa Rica are small three-pointers, 3.0, 3.7 here in Costa Rica. Nothing to get too shook up about. And that's not a pun. I'm very serious about that. When we see larger earthquakes hit, then we have something to be really concerned about. South America, I want to show you what's going on here, because they're showing almost nothing. They're showing almost nothing. The only earthquake that USGS is showing is over here at the border of San Antonio, near the border of Chile and Argentina. This one is 85 kilometers northwest of San Antonio de los Cobres, Argentina. Okay, at the border region. But they're not showing everything. There are 36 earthquakes here in South America today. 36 earthquakes, and this is all that they're showing us. There have been some 4s here as well. 4.2, 4.3 earthquakes here in northern Chile, Tarapaca, Chile. But USGS didn't want to show on the map. Why not? Why not? Inquiring minds want to know why they're not reporting everything going on. Okay? Over here in Puerto Rico, back on December 26th and 28th, 2019, we had 2 very major earthquakes here. Southern Puerto Rico. 2 major earthquakes. One was an 8.0 and the other one was an 8.4. December 26th and December 28th. We are still seeing aftershocks from those quakes. Today, 4.5 years later, this is a 3.1 here. Further north and west here is Domingo, Puerto Rico. Right next to it here. This is in Yauco, Puerto Rico. A 2.3 here and a 2.1 here. Aftershocks of that 8.0 and 8.4 earthquake that hit here December 26th and December 28th. By the way, both of those major quakes were man-made. We've talked about it here on this channel before. Both of those 8.0 and 8.4 earthquakes were man-made. Okay? I'll talk about this later if you have more questions about that. But I'm telling you, this is still happening as a result of man triangulating that island and hitting it with hypersonic sound waves and electrical waves, electromagnetic waves. Over here in Europe, they're not reporting much of anything at all, yet there are earthquakes here. There are earthquakes here. There are earthquakes down here in the Canary Islands. There are earthquakes here in Spain. There are earthquakes here in France, Switzerland, and Germany. There are earthquakes here in Italy that they're not telling us about. There are 50 earthquakes here in Italy. 50 earthquakes. The most earthquakes are here in central Italy. Italy is about to get hit with another large earthquake as a result of these storms here in central Italy. Okay? Also down here, Mount Etna and Mount Stromboli volcanoes are erupting. And they're erupting big time. Okay? Yes, we've had some other earthquakes around the Czech Republic and Romania here. That happens. Greece. Greece has 30 earthquakes there today. 30 earthquakes between Crete here and mainland Greece here. 30 earthquakes. Over here, Western Turkey. Western Turkey and the Dokanese Islands just off the coast of Western Turkey are getting hit. Right in Western Turkey and the Dokanese Islands, these islands belong to Greece. There are about 24 earthquakes in this region right here. USGS not saying a word about it. Not a thing. Going over into northern Turkey. Right here in northern Turkey, we're having about 14 earthquakes here. They're not showing them either, are they? Southern Turkey, we have a handful of earthquakes here. Let's go further east. I can't wait to show you this. This may blow you away. Over here in eastern Turkey, at the Syria-Turkey border, we've had about 48 earthquakes here in this region today. 48 earthquakes here. Why? They are all aftershocks of a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake that hit here just over a year ago, about a year and a half ago. Okay? February 2023, this area got hit with a 9.0, 10.0 very mega thrust earthquake right here in the Turkey-Syria border region. Right here. See this earthquake fault? It goes all the way up here as well. All the way up here. That's why this earthquake was so violent. This earthquake fault goes all the way south of Cyprus here. It continues southeast over here to just south of Crete. It goes up to the eastern side, or excuse me, the western side of Greece here. The western side of Greece here. And then guess what? It goes up here into Italy. It goes up here in Italy. That is the reason they're getting hit with all these quakes in Italy. Okay? The ground still is moving. Seismic energy is still moving. Okay? They're not showing us everything here. They never do, unfortunately. We go over here. I want to show you this because it's on the earthquake fault. This is Shahraq, Iran. This is a 4.6 earthquake here on the fault zone. Where's it coming from? I'm going to tell you in just a second. This is also an earthquake here in Iran, Kerman, Iran, a 4.5. So we've had a 4.5 here, and right here we've had another 4.6. See this earthquake fault? It comes all the way down here into Yemen, and it crosses over here. Right here in this area here. This is northeastern India. Okay? What is this? This is the Himalaya Mountains here. The Himalaya Mountains. This is a natural fault zone. This is the edge of the Chinese plate here. Chinese India plate here. Okay? This is why these earthquakes come from here, and these earthquakes here come from over here in Indonesia. See this plate here? It comes all the way over here to northeastern India here. It comes in here to the Himalaya Mountains, and then comes over here to Tajikistan and Afghanistan, and it goes south over here in Yemen and comes over here. Okay? That's what's happening. That's what's happening. Now, there are a lot more earthquakes here than USGS is talking about. Naturally, because they don't want anybody to know what's going on. Sad. It's very sad. Heather says her dog needs to go for a walk, so she's going to take her dog for a walk. Thanks, Heather Hanks. We appreciate that. Jenna says she'll email me the info right now. Okay. No problem. Thanks, Jenna. We appreciate that. Jenna says she's not in chat much, but she watches every video. We appreciate that a lot. Anyway, let's continue here. Again, we're not seeing too much going on here. Yes, we're still seeing swarms here in the coastal areas of California. Why? Why are we seeing swarms of earthquakes here in the coastal areas of California? Can anybody tell me? You should know. You should know a lot. Why? Because of the San Andreas Fault. The San Andreas Fault. It comes from out here in Northern California here. Comes up here to the Triple Junction. This is the Cascadia Fault Zone here. It's an earthquake fault that goes from here all the way north along the coastline of Oregon, Washington, and British Columbia, Canada. What's going to happen? There's going to be a Cascadia megathrust earthquake up along the coastline of Washington. Right here. Okay, this is the Cascadia subduction zone that's going along the coastline. The Cascadia megathrust earthquake is going to be here, between here and the Juan de Fuca Fault here. It's going to be at least a 9 to 10 point magnitude quake. A 9 to a 10 point magnitude quake. A very major earthquake that's going to hit here. What doesn't get damaged by the quake or killed by the quake will be suffering severe circumstances after the tsunami that hits. About 20 minutes after that quake hits, there will be a massive tsunami that's going to hit the entire west coast of Alaska, Canada, and the western United States. A massive tsunami. It's going to go up probably at least 5 to 10 miles inland. 5 to 10 miles inland. Now, remember yesterday? We talked about this before. We talked about volcanoes. We talked about volcanoes yesterday. Mount Rainier is getting hit today. Over here is Mount St. Helens. Now they're only reporting microquakes at Mount St. Helens. But as I pointed out to you yesterday, Mount St. Helens is getting hit with 3.0 to 4.0 earthquakes. They don't ever show that kind of energy here on the USGS map, but I can guarantee you, after we studied the seismograms, every day Mount St. Helens is getting nailed, and so is Mount Rainier. Mount Rainier and Mount St. Helens is getting hit. They're not showing it, but it is. There are earthquakes up and down the coastline. Earthquakes up and down the coastline, from 2.5 earthquakes down to microquakes, all throughout this coastline here. Why? Because this is the Cascadian subduction zone. The entire coastline of Oregon and Washington and California is getting nailed. But they never report on it. They almost never report on it. Okay? We're seeing earthquakes down here where the Cascadia subduction zone hits the Gorda Escarpment here. This area is called the Gorda Escarpment. The Cascadia subduction zone meets down here at the Gorda Escarpment and the San Andreas Fault. Look what's happening here. Look what's happening here. Let me back it off just a minute. This is the San Andreas Fault here. Just north of the San Andreas Fault along the coastline is Ferndale, California. Back about a year and a half ago, this area got hit by what USGS said was a 6.4 quake. It wasn't a 6.4 earthquake, it was an 8.4. The 8.4 was out here in the ocean right here. But again, USGS says, oh, it's not that big a deal. Yes, it is. I proved it then. This earthquake was an 8.4 earthquake. It did a lot of damage here on the coastline. A lot of damage. Here in Ferndale, further east over here, in this area here. I don't remember the name of the towns right here, but they had a lot of damage. A lot of damage here in Ferndale and here, and also down here in Petrolia. Today we have a 2.2 minor earthquake here along the San Andreas Fault. Right here is also a 2.0, again on the San Andreas Fault. This third earthquake here is a 2.4. These are minor earthquakes here on the San Andreas Fault, the southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone area. This will be the southern part of where the Cascadia where the Cascadia subduction zone triggers the San Andreas Fault. Then that 9.0 energy, that 9.0, 10.0 earthquake that hits up off the coast of Seattle and Tacoma, Washington, that energy is going to be transferred down here by the Cascadia subduction zone, which is going to trigger the San Andreas Fault. The San Andreas Fault will be triggered, and energy from that earthquake is going to transfer down here all throughout California. Down here, the San Andreas Fault is passing just west of San Francisco Bay. Can you imagine the damage that's going to happen here with a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake and a tsunami to boot? A tsunami to boot. Right here, northern San Francisco Bay. This is a 1.5 minor tremor here. 1.5 minor tremor, Santa Venetia, California. Here in San Francisco Bay. 6 kilometers east-southeast of Santa Venetia Bay, California. Okay? South of there. Also on the San Andreas Fault. Go figure. This is Portola Valley, California. A 1.3 tremor on the San Andreas Fault. Further east, over here, right between the Hayward Fault and the Calaveras Fault. Calaveras Fault is right here. The Calaveras and the Hayward Fault and the San Andreas link up down here. This area is probably the most dangerous area in California because these two fault zones and the San Andreas Fault here can spell double trouble for people here in Northern California. The San Andreas Fault goes off with a major earthquake here. These two other fault zones could also be part of it. Further south here, where the Calaveras and the Hayward Fault meet, right here, we have two earthquakes. This is a 1.0 tremor here. This is Gilroy, California, by the way. 1.0 tremor here. Let me enlarge this map just a little bit to show you this other quake here. I enlarged it too far. My bad. So we had a 1.0 here, and we also have a 3.4. 3.4, that's a small quake. You're not going to feel a 1.0 tremor, but a 3.4, you are going to feel that. Okay? So we have these earthquakes over here on the San Andreas at the Pinnacles, and by the way, the Pinnacles is a oil and gas producing area as well. There are pumps and jacks all over the hills here. Okay? So this area over at the Hayward, Calaveras Fault area, it's a big deal. A 3.4 small earthquake there today. And as you can see, we have other earthquakes here in this area. Unreal. San Juan Bautista on the San Andreas Fault here. A 1.0 tremor here. Okay? The San Andreas Fault is alive and well here. Right here. This is Ridgemark, California. Two quakes here. This is a 0.8 microquake. This is a 1.3 tremor here. Ridgemark, California. Also down here, again where the Hayward Fault and the San Andreas Fault meet here. Tres Pinos, guys. Just 3 years ago, we had a 5.0 earthquake here. Actually, it was a 5.1. Tres Pinos here. What happened? This happened in late afternoon that day. I believe it was a Friday. A 5.1 earthquake, large earthquake. There was damage at an oil refinery here in Tres Pinos. The fire here created by the damage to the oil refinery snarled traffic along Interstate 5 here. Major deal. Earthquake. There was a lot of damage here just a couple years ago. We go further south here. This is New Ydra, California. This is also 2.1 here on the San Andreas Fault. Go figure. Further south here and west. This is San Simeon, California. You should be advised there was a 5.1 also a couple years ago. Our buddy Sage Pup. My buddy Sage Pup. He's usually here in the chat when he can be, but Sage Pup and his girlfriend were here and reported on it. A large 5.1 earthquake here in San Simeon. Okay? Further south here on the San Andreas. Go figure. Parkfield, California. I just love talking about Parkfield. Why? It's the earthquake capital of the world. The earthquake capital of the world. Why? Because this is centrally located on the San Andreas Fault. It's no surprise that there are so many earthquakes here. Every day this town, it's only a town of about 30 people, but it's world-renowned for its earthquakes. One of these days, I will spend a lot of time talking about earthquakes in Parkfield. Today, a 1.3 tremor hit there. Okay? It's only a mile deep. A mile deep here. We come down here. The San Andreas Fault continues south here. Right here. Right here. I just turned this blue. This is a 1.0 tremor on the San Andreas Fault, but it's right here in this fork. This is the Garlock Fault here. The Garlock Fault here meets up with the San Andreas Fault here. The Garlock Fault continues northeast up here into an area that we know as Ridgecrest, California. Good old Ridgecrest, California. What do we know about Ridgecrest? July 3rd, 2019, we had two 6.9 earthquakes here in Ridgecrest. The next day we had a 7.1 earthquake. And scientists are now saying that that 7.1 earthquake was probably at least an 8.0. At least an 8.0. Right here. Okay, this is Ridgecrest today. This is a 1.0 tremor here in Ridgecrest. Down here on the southern Garlock Fault here, this is Tehachapi, California. This is a 1.4 tremor. Further north here, I just love reporting on this. This is Lake Isabella, California, a 0.7 tremor here. Further north here, this is a much larger earthquake. This is also a 3.0 here in the Kozel Volcanic Field. The Kozel Volcanic Field. Folks, this is another volcano here, but it's not just one volcano. It's a huge volcanic field. There are craters and there are cones all over this area. But what you need to know is there's also a geothermal facility here, just like the geysers, just like the geothermal facility at the Salton Sea. The former senator, the late Senator Harry Reid, got hold of some money back in the early 60s, and they started putting in geothermal facilities, one over just north of Reno, Nevada, down here in Kozel Field here, over in the geysers area, and they started working on the one at the Salton Sea. Geothermal facilities to harvest steam from the volcanic field and turn it into electricity. That's what they're doing here. Today, this 3.0 here in the Kozel volcanic field is nothing new. We have 3.0s, 3.5s, but more than anything, we have tremors every day. Dozens and dozens of tremors here in the Kozel volcanic field. Right here. This is another one here. This is a 1.0 tremor. You can see the craters all over this area from volcanic eruptions here in California and also Nevada. Okay? Kozel volcanic field stretches all over this area. Okay? It happens. It happens every day. There is a geothermal power plant here. I thought I was going to zoom in to there, right there, but it's not there. Let me check here. Usually I can pick it out here. Usually I can pick it out here. There's a road here. This is old 395. This used to be the main drag before Interstate 15 was put in. And 395 goes all over the northern part of California, and it stretches up until it reaches Nevada. Then it becomes Interstate 15. Interstate 15 also runs from San Diego all the way up to Montana. Interstate 15. But this was the main drag for years and years when I was a kid on Interstate 395 here. This is old highway now. Old Highway 395. There is somewhere along this area here, and I'm going to try to find it here. Okay, I think I found it. 395 here. This is a gas station and a hotel here. Right next, this is the road that leads into the Kozel volcanic field here. There's an old gas station here and a hotel here that's been here for ages. I was over here one time and it was 224 degrees in the shade. I'm not saying, not 200, but 124 degrees here in the shade. Incredibly hot. Incredibly hot. Crazy. Totally crazy. But this road goes into Kozel volcanic field. And this road also leads to most of the geothermal digs where they've dug into the Kozel volcanic field to the upper magma chambers of the volcano to pull steam to power turbines. There are turbine facilities here, if I can find them here. I showed some of these turbine facilities here in the past, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time because I have a lot of things I want to talk about tonight. But you can see the cones and craters all over this area. Okay? It's a huge volcanic field. It's not just one volcano, it's tons of craters and cones all over this area. Okay? So that's what is going on up here. Coast volcanic field is active. It's an active volcanic field, and there will be a major earthquake there in the future. Okay, I can guarantee it. It's not going to be anytime soon, but I believe it will be a major earthquake. Down here at the junction of the San Andreas Fault and the Garlock Fault here, it's Fraser Park, 25 kilometers southwest of Fraser Park. This is a 2.2 earthquake. A 2.2 earthquake. We don't usually see these earthquakes all the time, but occasionally we do. This is just a minor earthquake here. Going south into Los Angeles, we still are not being shown what is really going on here. Los Angeles is going to have a major earthquake. It's a matter of time. Right here is Willowbrook, California with 1.7 tremor, according to the USGS. Further south here is Corona, California. They're showing a 1.2 tremor. But what they're not showing you are dozens and dozens of earthquakes all over the LA basin and out here into Orange County. Dozens and dozens of earthquakes. Over here in San Bernardino. Again, this is a San Andreas Fault here. Cabazon, California, a 1.2 tremor. Further southwest, Beaumont, California, also in the same area. This area right here, though, is the San Jacinto Fault. San Jacinto Fault. Beaumont, California, here is 1.2. Okay? Further south, we're getting into what they call the Anza-Borrego Desert State Park here, northeastern San Diego County. You can see the tremors and earthquakes here. Right here, this is Borrego Springs. Again, part of the Anza-Borrego Desert State Park, northeastern San Diego County. Right here, this is another 2.3. But folks, this is not just a 2.3. There is a small swarm of earthquakes here. A small, maybe a cache, we might call it a cache. It's not really a swarm, but a cache. This is a 1.3, and also this is a 1.2. So we have two tremors here, and we have a 2.3 minor earthquake there. Right here, this is a 2.7, also in Borrego Springs, part of the Anza-Borrego Desert State Park. Earthquakes. This is normal. This is very much normal. We go further south here. Further south, Ocotillo Wells. This is over in the Imperial Valley, Imperial County area. Imperial County, California. This is over on the eastern side of San Diego. Okay? San Diego is over here. Okay? San Diego is over here. Julian, California is here. These mountains are the Chocolate Mountains. These mountains you would see at the Top Gun movie. As Tom Cruise and his buddies are flying out over here, these are the Chocolate Mountains. They flew over the Chocolate Mountains in the Top Gun movie. They flew out here, right over here. This is El Centro Naval Air Station. They flew into El Centro here. Okay? They flew out here into El Centro Naval Air Station. You see other tremors here. These are just tremors here. Okay? This newest one here is in red, it just happened. This is a 1.3 here. Right here also in this area, 1.2. And right here is a 1.5. This is across the border in Mexico, though. This is across the border in Mexico. This is a 1.5 here. Out here, also in the Imperial Valley, is Los Algones. And this is actually, it shows this to be in Baja California, but I don't think it is. I think this is in the United States. I think USGS is wrong because the border is down here. I don't believe the border goes north as far north as this. This would be would be Arizona right here. So there's no way that this could be in Mexico as they're saying it is. Okay? Over here, this is also the San Andreas Fault here. Right here. Right up north here is what we call North Shores Salton Sea. Salton Sea North Shore is right here. The USGS is saying this is 11 kilometers southeast of North Shore, California. Okay? This is just maybe 6.5 miles south of North Shore, California, right there, on the San Andreas Fault. The San Andreas Fault comes all the way out of Northern California, comes down here on the east side of the Salton Sea, and right here. Yeah, Bombay Beach, California. Typically, every day we can see 3.0 to 4.0 earthquakes hitting this area because this is the San Andreas Fault here. And yes, we're going to talk about that probably tomorrow. Okay? Like I said, I don't want to spend much more time talking about these earthquakes here. We showed you earthquakes in Europe. We showed you earthquakes in California, Alaska, Hawaii. We come over here to southwestern Texas. This is typically a swarm of earthquakes, and that's exactly what we're having. Toya, Texas. Coyanosa, Texas down here, we have earthquakes. They're not talking about Coyanosa, Texas here. This is Toya, Texas. This is a 2.6 earthquake here. This earthquake here is a 1.7 tremor. This is a 1.8 tremor. This is a 2.0 earthquake, minor earthquake. Right here is another 2.0 earthquake. Why? Why? Folks, this is an oil and gas pumping operation. Every time we drill a hole into the surface of the earth, we create a man-made earthquake fault. Whenever seismic energy comes along and hits these faults, we have earthquakes. Why? Because the seismic energy fractures the rock inside these faults, whether it's man-made or natural faults. It fractures the ground here, and we have earth movement called earthquakes. Earthquakes here. Further north here, this is the edge of the plate. Northern Texas, also oil and gas. This is a 1.6 tremor here. Just north of there, McKinney Acres, Texas. McKinney, Texas. This is a 2.2 minor earthquake here. Oil and gas, pumps and jacks, all throughout Texas. Now, over in Oklahoma, up here in Oklahoma, we have earthquakes here, right? Earthquakes here because of oil and gas fracking operations here. There are 586,000 pumps and jacks throughout Oklahoma. Heaven forbid we have that many in Texas. I believe we do. I believe we do. In fact, I just looked this, and USGS is saying this is Amarillo, Texas. Amarillo, Texas, northwestern Texas, a 2.1 earthquake. We go up here. We go up here. And yes, there are some pumps and jacks in Amarillo. This is Wayanoka, Oklahoma here. 586,000 pumps and jacks all over Oklahoma. That's why we're getting earthquakes here. But this is not the only quake here. Okay? I like to point that out. See all these pumps and jacks here? Oklahoma. Up here. This is Oklahoma too. There's pumps and jacks all over this area. There's a pump and jack facility here. There are facilities here, here, up here, all over this area. That's why we're getting earthquakes here. Okay? That's exactly why we're getting earthquakes. Anywhere within 10 miles of one of these earthquakes, if there's a pump and jack facility, meaning a pad that has either had pumps and jacks or an active pumping facility, that is why these earthquakes hit. Because these pumps and jack facilities, the pumps in the actual oil facility, the hole in the ground either goes straight down or goes perpendicular, or it can go what do they call it? It can go straight down, it can go perpendicular, or it can go horizontal if it goes into the shale to pull oil or gas out. Okay? Either way, these faults, these man-made faults, cause earthquakes because when the seismic energy comes along and there's a fault there, all of a sudden we get ground shaking, rock fracturing at these fault zones. Okay? That's why we're getting earthquakes. But every one of these areas where you see a dot here are oil and gas platforms. 586,000 pumps and jacks all over Oklahoma. And I don't know how many in Texas. Texas had oil and gas pumping operations before Oklahoma. And that's why we get earthquakes in Oklahoma and Texas. Oklahoma and Texas. This is Dibble, Oklahoma here. A 1.5 tremor here. And over here is Prague, Oklahoma. Prague, Oklahoma started producing earthquakes here about 8 months ago. And it's going great here today. Again, well, not great, but I'm calling a 1.5 tremor here in Prague, Oklahoma. We've had 4.5 and even a 5.0 here in Prague earlier this year. So that's why those earthquakes are happening. Okay? So we've taken you here all over the place. They're not showing any earthquakes here in the eastern Canadian area, but there are earthquakes here. If you go to Earthquake Canada, they'll show plenty of earthquakes here, and also earthquakes here in the northern United States, northeastern United States here. It's going on. It's happening. Now, I've got a lot of information to talk about, okay? So please bear with me here, okay? I've been doing a lot of research all day long to talk about this today. Those of you that are with us typically want to see this, okay? Typically you want to see this. I do have a short video to show you coming out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin today, where the Republican National Convention is being put on today. There was a police shooting there today. Let me play this video for you.
10 TV News at 4 starts with breaking news tonight. Here's a look at the heavy police presence in Milwaukee, Wisconsin right now. The Columbus Fraternal Order of Police has confirmed that an officer was involved in a shooting there. 10 TV learned about this within the past hour and is working to learn more details. Thanks for joining us for 10 TV News at 4. I'm Yolanda Harris.
And I'm Angela Ann. Now, we do know this happened about a mile outside where the Republican National Convention is happening. And that RNC, again, is happening in Milwaukee at the Fiserv Forum.
Okay, I'm going to stop real quick there. Right here is the convention. Right outside the convention area is what they call a hard perimeter, where they're not allowing anybody to go in to the convention center without checking them for weapons. There's magnetometers and police officers and security personnel at this convention center with wands and magnetometers, so this is a hard perimeter here. Out here is what they call a soft perimeter. A soft perimeter, where protesters can be out here and other people here. This is where the shooting occurred.
Site of the shooting looks like it is about 1 mile from where about 50,000 people are right now attending that convention.
10 TV's Lacey Chris joins us live now from Columbus Police Headquarters with more on what we know about the investigation so far. Lacey?
Well, I can tell you no Columbus police officers were injured. We don't know how the condition of the person who shot, but I can tell you that the Milwaukee medical examiner has been called to the scene. Now, as I told you yesterday, about 40 Columbus police officers left Saturday morning for Milwaukee to go to the RNC to help with security. Now, those include command staff members, members from the dialogue team, and some from bike patrol. Now, the shooting happened at 14th and Fleet in Milwaukee, which is near the secure zone of the RNC, but police have said they have no reason to believe this incident is connected to the events at the RNC. Now, I worked in Milwaukee for several years. I talked to colleagues who were there covering the RNC, and they tell me the atmosphere there today was very volatile. There were crowds near where the shooting happened. Now, we have put out a request for an interview with Columbus Police, and so far, they have not returned our calls.
Okay. This was an Ohio police officer that was dispatched to Milwaukee, Wisconsin to help Milwaukee police with the RNC convention. It was an Ohio officer that got involved with somebody that had a weapon. And they told the suspect to drop the weapon, and he refused. And it was that time that the Ohio police officer opened fire and killed the suspect. That is why the Wisconsin medical examiner showed up there. Medical examiners do not show up unless somebody was killed. And that's what happened. An Ohio police officer shot a suspect that had a weapon. Again, this was a soft perimeter. The soft perimeter. This was about a mile, maybe a mile and a quarter away from the convention center. The soft perimeter. They were and are planning for a lot of problems. Protesters and everything else. We've had Antifa in the past show up for protests all around the country. We've had Palestine, people from Palestine, people that have shown up protesting, putting up hard fights with police. They've established a soft perimeter a mile and a quarter away from the hard perimeter. They are keeping people away from the convention center. If you don't have reason to believe to be at the convention center, you're not going to get anywhere near it. The only people that are anywhere near it are politicians and delegates to the Republican National Committee and police officers. Okay? That's what's going on. That's what's happening. Okay? But an Ohio police officer shot a man there with a weapon. Okay? I wanted to make sure everybody understood that. There's been a lot of talk about it. Okay? This happened probably about 4 hours ago now. Okay? So that's what's happened. But there's a lot of things going on there. There's a lot of things going on at the convention center. Before I get to that, Illinois. There's been a dam failure in Illinois. In fact, 2 dams, because of rain and flooding going on, 2 dams are in trouble. But at least 1 dam is under failure right now. I want to show you these pictures here. This is one of the dams where the massive overflow of water is coming down from emergency relief gates in the dam. Emergency relief gates. You can see the flooding here near the dam here. Okay? Flooding this whole area. There has been a dam break. There. Okay? There's massive flooding throughout the area. Emergency crews, police, and firefighters are all over this area blocking off streets. Massive flooding. Some people have been caught in the flooding. As we have talked before, if you have flooding in your area, whether it's here in Illinois or not, stay out of the area. Do not cross flooded roads and streets. Don't do it. This is Nashville, Illinois. Don't do it. Okay? This is Nashville, Illinois. You can see the police, you can see the firefighters here. They're blocking off roadways, and they're here helping rescue people out of the floodwaters. Don't do it. Again, do not cross flooded roadways. Do not cross flooded roadways. There has been an evacuation set up. I'm going to show you the evacuation area right now. Anywhere here in the gray area, this whole area is being evacuated. There's about 1,000 people. About 1,000 people in this evacuation area that have been evacuated because of the dam here. You can see the dam right here. Okay? This whole area has been evacuated. They've had heavy rains go through here. There have been some tornadoes also. But there's heavy flooding here, and the dam is broken. Okay? The dam is broken. Be safe. Don't cross flooded roadways, and please stay out of this area. Now, I want to show you this other right here. Right here, look at this flooded area, and look at this yo-yo here. Both of these guys crossing the flooded roadway. Folks, we've had people stranded in the floodwaters. If you get stranded here, you're probably going to lose your life. This water here is deep enough to float a car. If you tried to get out of your car and tried to get out of harm's way here, you'd be washed away with the water and you'd probably die. Don't do it. Please do not do it. This is committing suicide. This is committing suicide. Don't cross flooded roadways. Okay? Please don't cross flooded roadways. Now, if you want to report any area to report flooded roadways, call 618-327-8274 and extension 4. To report flooded roadways here in this area, if you live here in the area, call 618-327-8274 extension 4 to report flooded roadways or any other water flooded emergencies. Okay? If you try to cross these flooded roadways, you're in real trouble. You're putting emergency responders in a bad situation. You're putting emergency responders in a situation where they're going to risk their life to try to save yours. Please don't put our first responders at risk. Please don't do that. Watch what you're doing. Please be cognizant of where you are and watch what you're doing. Okay? I've been there. I've helped rescue people out of floodwaters in San Diego. Please don't do it. Okay? I'm here to tell you about it. Don't do it. You'll be putting these rescuers in danger, in unnecessary danger. Now, I have a lot of other information to give you. The rest of this program is going to be talking about what's been going on before and during the Republican National Convention. I want to give you this information because you deserve to know, number one. Number two, it's your America. It is your America. Okay? It's your country. This country is in a crisis situation. And it's not just here. Putting this country in a crisis situation like it is a result of politicians gone bad. Politicians gone bad. Now, as I said last night, and I'll say it again, I believe the Secret Service Director, Kimberly Cheadle, and Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas need to resign. I'm just saying that. They need to resign right now. Homeland Security is the greater umbrella organization that encompasses all federal law enforcement. Homeland Security is the umbrella organization that encompasses all United States federal law enforcement. Secretary Mayorkas is responsible for all federal law enforcement. What he has not done makes him a criminal. What Mayorkas and Kimberly Cheadle from the Secret Service have not done makes them criminal. Okay? I'm just saying. This is nonsense. The U.S. Secret Service Director postponed a meeting with Congress yesterday. Congress wanted to talk to her yesterday about what happened in Ohio. I'm sorry, not Ohio, Pennsylvania. They wanted to talk to what happened to President Trump in Pennsylvania. She postponed the meeting because she allegedly doesn't have all the information. Congress wants to know why agents failed to prevent a gunman from almost killing President Trump. Now, because of the Republican National Convention, there have been agents added to the protection force. Not just for President Trump, but also for Biden and the Vice President. And now, Trump's Vice President himself. Okay? All of them have Secret Service protection. The one person that still does not have Secret Service protection is Robert Kennedy Jr. The Biden administration has not given Robert Kennedy Secret Service protection. If something happens to Robert Kennedy, Biden will be held directly responsible. Jose Rodriguez is saying that Cheadle, the Secret Service director, is hiding something. You're absolutely right, she is. The FBI is now coming in and is taking over the investigation into what the Secret Service did or didn't do in Pennsylvania. I don't trust the FBI. I haven't trusted the FBI in a very long time. I have not trusted the FBI in a very long time, and I won't. As I said before, in past episodes of this program, the FBI needs to be dismantled from the top down. And if anybody is still wanting to stay with the FBI, they should be heavily scrutinized. If they have committed any bad acts as FBI agents, they should not be rehired. But immediately they should be fired. FBI and Secret Service. Now, the Secret Service agents that helped Trump Saturday evening should be praised. The Secret Service should be praised for what they did to help President Trump. But the Secret Service did not have adequate people in Pennsylvania to help President Trump Saturday. Why? Because dear old Jill Biden also had an appearance in Pennsylvania. So her appearance in Pennsylvania took federal officers away from President Trump to help protect her. Yes, I understand the First Lady needs protection, but I believe it was done on purpose. There is an investigation that's going to take months, possibly years, because the Democrat Party has been in charge of this whole thing. I believe this is going to be far-reaching. But Congress wanted Kimberly Cheadle to appear before Congress yesterday. Why the Secret Service did not prevent a gunman from almost killing President Trump. The agency, like I said, has also increased protection for President Trump at the RNC. It's happened. But Kimberly Cheadle has been due to brief Republican members of the House Homeland Security Committee today. But she's put it off. She asked for the session to be rescheduled. One of her aides said the committee expects to receive an alternate briefing date from the Secret Service promptly. House Homeland Security Committee Chairman Mark Green and the panel's top Democrat, Benny Thompson. Remember that name, Benny Thompson? Benny Thompson is a Democrat congressman. Okay? Something happened also with one of his aides, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But House Homeland Security Committee Chairman Mark Green and the panel's top Democrat, Benny Thompson, were due to speak to a top FBI official yesterday afternoon. The Secret Service is also slated to brief members of the House Oversight Committee on Tuesday. And Cheadle from the Secret Service was expected to appear before a panel for a full-scale hearing July 22nd. Now, the assassination attempt on President Trump has raised serious concerns in Congress about how the alleged shooter was able to access a nearby roof with a direct line of sight where Trump was speaking. Let me talk to you about that. This is an entirely different story. This is an entirely different story. Let me show you that. Okay? I wanted to put this out to you to show you what happened. Okay? Right here. This is a stage where President Trump was. Okay? The evacuation point is here, where the great big huge black SUV they call the Beast was here. This is where they took Trump off the stage and put him in the Beast and headed off to a hospital. They had counter sniper teams, what they call NST teams or CAT teams. They had one team here and one team here. The shooter's location was over here, the top of the building. This shooter had a location higher than this area where the rally was. He had direct sight onto the stage here where he was able to take a shot at President Trump and kill a former fire chief, a retired fire chief. The fire chief was able to push his daughter and wife to the ground, protecting them, but he got shot and killed by the shooter. 2 other people were also injured by the gunfire. A huge major security failure. A huge major security failure. Why did the Secret Service not seal this building off or any of the rooftops here? Why didn't they seal it off? There has been some talk that there were Secret Service agents inside this building. But how was this shooter allowed to get here? That is a question. Again, we had counter-terrorist strike teams right here. Both these locations. Right above the stage area. Right above the stage area. Now, I want to show you what happened. This is what I'm talking about here. Let me enlarge this photo for you. Okay, these are the counter-terrorist strike teams. Both of these officers here were from the police department. They were the top officers in their SWAT teams, and they were called in to help the Secret Service. The Secret Service, again, did not have the teamwork and the team available to do adequate protection. So they called in police officers from their department to help out. This is obviously a police officer, and sorry, but this police officer's back is off to the camera, so we don't see the word police on his back, on the vest. This is a bulletproof vest here, okay? But you can see his high-powered gun here. You can see this officer's high-powered weapon here, okay? Guess what? This officer took the shot. He took the shot that took out the shooter. Now, I'm going to come back to this. But there's a lot of information we need to talk about. Okay? Again, the assassination attempt has raised serious concerns, serious security concerns. It's raised concerns in Congress. It's raised concerns of everyone around the United States and everyone around the world. Other world leaders are also looking at this situation. They don't want to come to the United States again unless security is real and security is enhanced. So leaders around the world are also concerned with what's going on here. Okay? Unreal. Just a second, I'm going to take care of something. I knew we were going to have trolls here, and I'm happy that you mods are catching these guys. Brokefish, we're going to talk about your issues up in Oregon in a minute. Brokefish is talking about fires in Oregon. We're going to talk to Brokefish in a few minutes, or talk about his fires in Oregon in a few minutes. But this is important. This is vitally important to the United States and all citizens. It affects us as well. This is a crisis throughout the country. Okay? It's raised concerns in Congress. It's raised concerns to citizens here in the United States and around the world. Okay? That shooter had a direct line of sight at the president. It should never have happened. But there's even more to talk about here. Yesterday, President Trump received his party's official 2024 nomination for President of the United States in Milwaukee. He announced his vice president as J.D. Vance. So now there's another person that Secret Service needs to provide attention to. Now, these people, these protectees, they're called protectees. Okay? They're called protectees. The Secret Service has priority to protect the protectees. The secondary priority is the shooters. The protectee is a primary responsibility. The secondary is the Secret Service taking out the shooter. In this case, the Secret Service did their job, protecting the president after the fact. Again, after the fact. Okay? After the fact. You need to remember that. YouTube won't let your comment about the site go through. That's sad. Dadgum YouTube. Anyway, so now President Trump and J.D. Vance have to also have protection. And the Secret Service has upped their numbers of people to help protect these gentlemen. Just as they've upped the protection for Biden and his vice president, Kamala Harris. Deborah Reese says, guys, it's buffering really bad. I expected that to happen. And the numbers just decreased by 100. Not 100, but the numbers decreased from people that were viewing this program has decreased about 20 people. Sad. Anyway, there are Republican lawmakers there in Milwaukee today, and they will be here through Thursday night. Biden himself was asked by Lester Holt from NBC News if he had spoken to the director of the Secret Service. Guess what Biden said? Biden replied, yes, he has spoken to him. Biden said he had spoken to him. The Secret Service director is a her, a she, a woman. Biden is not able to distinguish who he has even on his own staff. Biden doesn't even realize who he has. He's called President Trump his vice president, not Kamala Harris. Anyway, so Lester Holt had Biden on stage and Biden misspoke. Again, it's not the first time. The director of the Secret Service is a woman, Kimberly Cleater, not a man. She should have been addressed as a her. In Director Cheadle's first major statement since the shooting, which killed a rally attendee and injured 2 others, she said yesterday that the agency was increasing security for Trump and the Republican National Convention. She said, quote, I am confident in the security plan our Secret Service RNC coordinator has had, and our partners have been put in place. The partners are other law enforcement organizations from all over Wisconsin and Minnesota, Illinois, and Ohio. They have police officers from all surrounding states to assist them in protecting the RNC. and the president. She says she is confident in the security plan her Secret Service coordinator has put up. Now, you all need to know this as well. For the past 18 months, the Secret Service and these law enforcement organizations have been planning for security for the convention. It's taken 18 months. When I was in San Diego in 1994, we had a Republican National Convention in San Diego. I was part of that security team for my department. There are 4 of us officers assigned to that security force for the convention there in San Diego. I was part of it. The security briefings go back 18 months, at least. It doesn't matter what happens, but when there's a security issue as great as a convention, the security goes out a long distance. It's planned for months, 18 months in this case, and I think the same thing was in San Diego in 1994. In San Diego in 1994, the primary hard line was around the San Diego Convention Center. The hard perimeter was around the San Diego Convention Center. The outline perimeter was about a mile away, where all the protesters could do whatever they wanted to do. But that soft perimeter was around that area. The hard perimeter was around the building. Okay? That's what happened. Now, this security or Secret Service coordinator has been in charge of the detail here to help protect the convention. Now, with Saturday's shooting, the protection area has been strengthened. After a bullet grazed President Trump's ear during the Saturday rally, President Trump said he was fine. He went to another location for another event, then he flew home, and now he flew to Milwaukee on Sunday. He spoke to the convention Monday morning and announced his vice president pick as J.D. Vance. Now, Green spoke to Cheadle by phone on Sunday to ask about security service failures, Secret Service security failures at the rally, and to detail his request for emails and text messages and other official documents, including plans for securing the perimeter around the rally venue. Cheadle committed to providing requested documents to the committee promptly, and is able, the committee aide said. Comments have been made about the Secret Service women. Even here in our chat, comments have been made about the women of the Secret Service that were there to protect President Trump. Now, Dan Bongino, who worked for the Secret Service for 12 years, and I agree with his assessment, because I also had female personnel who were federal officers. Those female police officers, as well, and I believe the Secret Service officers, have been well trained. They're very, very good. Okay? I don't care what anybody says. These female Secret Service officers were good. They did their job. They and the male counterparts did their job. But what about those security concerns outside the immediate venue? That remains to be seen. I believe there was major security failures outside the venue itself. Okay? The Secret Service right around the stage area was lacking. There should have been Secret Service standing right along the stage area to help protect the president. From what I can see from the video that I have seen, that was lacking. That was the first hard perimeter that was lacking. Yes, there were Secret Service officers there protecting President Trump after the shooting. Now, I understand they said there was a lack of Secret Service before. I understand that. But I believe it was the Democrat people that caused that shortage. And of course, Jill Biden as well, booking a location in that same area for her event. Okay? Yes, she needs her security, but she took away from security from President Trump. Fact. I've seen it. I put it together. I've done my darndest to make sure I was right. Stephen Holmes, it doesn't matter why I'm on oxygen. If you can't talk about what I'm talking about, don't do it at all. Okay? I'm not going to address that tonight. I'm not going to address it tonight, period. You need to realize that. Okay? Now, Mr. Holmes, you've been put in timeout. Okay? Your chat's been taken down. You won't be allowed to comment today. Okay? Anyway, Cheadle has promised to put up information for government leaders on what happened in Pennsylvania. But there was a security failure, and I believe she needs to resign immediately. Immediately, if not sooner. Okay? But I have addressed the Secret Service women. They did their jobs. I've watched that video over and over and over again since Saturday evening. I watched it heavily Saturday, and I've watched it over and over again to make sure that people did their jobs. I've done a lot of soul searching. I've done physical checking on what I'm talking about to make sure I give you good information. Those female agents again, those female agents were some of the most highly trained officers in their service. They were highly qualified. Some of them even more qualified than the male counterparts. Okay? But no one should question their integrity or their training. They have some of the best training ever. My female counterparts, when I was a federal officer, were highly qualified. Let me just deviate just for a minute to talk about one officer that I worked with. I was assigned a female police officer, a federal officer, when I was going through the Federal Academy. All of a sudden in my own mind, I was not giving her the credit for who she was, or the training that we both got. She and I were assigned as a team. And off duty on Saturdays and Sunday afternoons, we went out together and trained some more. I'm going to tell you this. My female partner could throw me. And I was a big dude then, and I'm even bigger now. My female partner could throw me. And guess what? When I got thrown, I hit the ground hard. My female partner was well trained. She was a good lady. I learned highly from her. Not only did I learn from her, but I learned to respect her. She was a great person. Okay? She was a great officer. I believe she just resigned. Well, actually, she retired 2 years ago, finally. She retired 2 years ago. She's a great lady. I still highly respect her and her husband. Both of them were federal officers. Her husband taught at the police academy I went to. Okay? Both of them were great people. Just because they're female does not mean they don't have what it takes to be cops. These people on the Secret Service were very trained, highly trained people. But, with that said, there were also people on the Secret Service detail team that didn't do their jobs. They brought in officers that tried to do their jobs. They brought in officers from another department, a police department, highly trained snipers, SWAT officers. Mary M said there's always a weak link. Let me tell you, there was weak links here. Someone should be questioning the Secret Service detail on how they handled their CST teams, their counter sniper teams. Okay? The sniper teams were told not to take a shot when they have the shooter in their sights for 3 minutes. The counter sniper teams were told not to take a shot. They were not allowed to take the shot to stop the shooter before he shot. The Secret Service told them not to take a shot. What did the Secret Service do during 2 to 3 minutes from the time that a police officer made contact with the shooter on the roof? There was a police officer that climbed a ladder that the shooter had used to gain access to that building, gain access to that roof. He got up there and the sniper turned his rifle at the police officer and told him to leave or he would get killed. So he climbed down and once he got to the bottom, he put out a call that there was a sniper on that roof. The police knew there was a sniper. And that police officer's net, the radio net, was also broadcast to the Secret Service. So the Secret Service and all police officers in that area knew there was a sniper on that building. Why did that sniper team not have permission to take out the shooter? That is the question of the day. Why was that sniper team not allowed to take out that shooter before President Trump would get shot? Why not? I want answers. Eric LaRoque, you're gone. You're harassing me. I don't allow anybody to question my integrity. My integrity stands. I spent 24 years in federal law enforcement. I was an instructor. I was a highly trained instructor. I was a weapons instructor. I did everything that anybody could ever think of as a federal police officer. I know what's going on. I know what's going on. Okay? The counter-striker terrorist team were told not to take the shot when they had the shooter in their sights for 3 minutes. What did the Secret Service do for 2 to 3 minutes from the time that police officer made his way to the roof, came down, and put out the call that there was a shooter up there? They knew it. The strike team members on another roof knew it. But they were not told to do anything at all, even after President Trump got hit. The sniper teams were not even given permission then. And shots rang out and President Trump got hit. The Secret Service knew about the possible problem. And it appears that they allowed something to happen. Mary Ann is asking who made the shooting command. The Secret Service. The Secret Service told those CST teams not to take the shot. A direct line of sight from the building that the shooter was at to the stage where President Trump was at. A direct line of sight. That should not have happened. It should not occur. Secretary Mayorkas told Good Morning America it should not occur. Alejandro Mayorkas said, quote, "The gunman who fired on former President Trump on Saturday should never have been allowed to have a direct line of sight." I agree. It should never have happened. That's why President Biden has directed an independent review of the incident. But are we really going to get an independent review? That's my question. That's my question. Why? Why do I think that? Because, folks, what has happened already? What happened before President Trump was even running? Before he ever ran in 2016, the Democrat committees were after President Trump. The Democrat politicians were after President Trump. He got elected. The Democrats took him to task. Twice. He was impeached once. The second time, they could not impeach him. The second time, they could not impeach him. They have been after President Trump for about 30 years now. 30 years. Back even into the 90s, the Democrats didn't like President Trump in New York. They made his life miserable. The state and city of New York City made his life miserable. When he decided to run for president in 2016, or actually in 2014, the Democrats made his life miserable, and they've been doing it ever since. But the gunman who fired on President Trump should never have allowed line of sight on the president or anybody else. It should never have happened. The Democrats don't want President Trump around. Remember when I talked about Democrat Representative Congressman Benny Thompson earlier? Guess what? Benny Thompson is on the review committee. He's a Democrat. One of his staff members is no longer employed after he learned a post that his Democrat staff member had made on social media. Screenshots of her apparent Facebook post was related to the attempted assassination of Trump. It circulated on social media after the shooting. The screenshot showed a post in which this staffer appeared to say that she does not condone violence, but she suggested that the shooter could get shooting lessons and should not have missed. Benny Thompson's staff member put a Facebook post up that said the shooter should not have missed. For years now, Democrat Pelosi, Maxine Waters, Hillary Clinton, and many other Democrat leaders have said that they should stop Trump at any cost. Nancy Pelosi herself has said that someone needs to take out President Trump. At the beginning of last week, President Biden himself said, quote, President Trump is a target. President Trump is a target. A president of the United States should never have said that, ever. So President Trump is just as bad as some of these other Democrat leaders. Just as bad. President Biden should be taken down because of that. Yes, he's an inept, dementia-laden president. He should not be there. But he also should never have said that either. Never. No president should ever say that. And yet somebody tried to take out the president. Biden and his other Democrat leaders have incited violence. They have incited violence. And that violence occurred Saturday evening. Pelosi, Maxine Waters, Chuck Schumer, Uncle Joe Biden, and many others. Many others. They should all be taken down. They should serve prison terms because they have been inciting violence for a very long time. Maxine Waters a couple years ago said at a speech she could go and take Trump out right then. I heard her say it. Maxine Waters should have had her mouth washed out with soap and should have been arrested. Should have been arrested. Secret Service should have been arresting all these people. And yet they were allowed to do what they did on Saturday evening. Fact. Fact. There is one less staff member on Benny Thompson's team. He's a Democrat. The staff member made a mistake, a huge mistake. And that staff member should also be arrested. That staff member should have been arrested for saying that shooter should get shooting lessons and should not have missed. That is a threat against President Trump. Yet the only thing that's happened is that staff member was fired. Isn't that interesting? The staff member was fired for threatening the President of the United States. And yes, he's just the nominee right now, but he will become the President of the United States. Now, getting back to Secretary Mayorkas. Secretary Mayorkas said direct line of sight should not occur in wake of President Trump's assassination attempt. Should not occur. After the fact. After the fact. Again, Secretary Mayorkas, Alejandro Mayorkas, should not be in the position he's in. For many reasons. This is just the last straw with him. In the days since the shooting, Secret Service has become under scrutiny. How the alleged gunman, Thomas Matthew Crooks, could have come so close in his attempt to assassinate Trump. Again, like I said, I'm still putting together information on who actually shot at President Trump. There is evidence out there that shows that Crooks was not the one who shot him. I'm still putting together information to substantiate that, and when I do substantiate that, it's just going to be one more black mark against the Secret Service and a black mark against the FBI. Okay? But the shooter should not have come close to assassinating the president or hurting or killing anyone else. Mayorkas said we have to learn everything about the assailant, who, of course, the Secret Service so bravely neutralized. Guess what? It was not the Secret Service that neutralized him. It was a police sharpshooter. The police sharpshooter was brought in by the Secret Service. And the Secret Service told him not to take the shot. Mayorkas said, we're going to really study the event independently and make recommendations to the Secret Service and to me, so that we can adequately assure the safety and security of our protectees, which is one of our most vital missions in the Secret Service and the Department of Homeland Security and across the government. We condemn this violence in the strongest possible terms and commend the Secret Service for the swift action today, on Saturday. Mayorkas and Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle briefed President Biden on late Saturday. And then Biden came out with a statement after that. When asked if Ms. Cheadle knew that officers had seen the shooter before the shooting started, she stated she did not have all the details. I don't think that's the truth. I think she was given the details immediately after it happened. Who in their right mind as a leader of that organization would not want to know immediately? A video of the mayhem that we've seen showed a Secret Service counter sniper firing at the gunman from the rooftop behind the stage where President Trump was giving his speech. Again, that sniper was a police sniper. I have evidence that one of the CST team members had the shooter in his sights for 3 minutes and was told not to take the shot. When the shooter first fired the first shots, an officer from one of the local police departments was arrested for not taking the shot when he was told not to take the shot. He waited for a shot to go out and then he returned fire after 3 or 4 shots had already rung out. The police sniper statement is this, quote, "My name is Jonathan Willis. I am the officer in this famous photo of the 2 snipers on the roof at Trump's rally. I came here to inform the public that I have the assassins in my sight for at least 3 minutes, or the assassin in my sights for at least 3 minutes. But the head of the Secret Service said, don't take the shot. I did not follow orders though. As soon as the shooter opened up on Trump, I returned fire despite strict orders not to engage. I had eyes on the shooter for 3 minutes, watching him fiddle with his rifle and adjust the scope. It was obvious that he was a shooter, yet I wasn't allowed to engage. After I killed the shooter, I was arrested. I was questioned by the FBI and released an hour ago. I already lost my job for not following orders." That was his statement. Now, folks, that is not the only thing I want to show you. I want to show you his statement. You need to be aware of exactly what happened. You have to know what happened. And I have that information. I'm going to show you that information right now. This is a statement that Jonathan Willis made. "My name is Jonathan Willis. I am the officer in the famous photo of the 2 snipers on the roof at Trump's rally. I came here to inform the public that I had the assassin in my sights for at least 3 minutes. And they would not let me take him out. They would not let him take the shot." Isn't that interesting? They would not let the officer take the shot. Let me show you the rest of his statement. Well, dadgummit. Okay, here it is. Let me show you this. Look at this. "I didn't file or follow orders though. As soon as the shooter opened up on Trump, I returned fire despite strict orders to not engage. I had the eyes on the shooter for 3 minutes, watching him fiddle with his rifle and adjust the scope. It was obvious that he was a shooter, yet I wasn't allowed to engage. After I killed the shooter, I was arrested, questioned by the FBI, and just released an hour ago. I lost my job for not following orders, but I'm glad I took the shots anyway." That's a fact. Those are facts, ladies and gentlemen. The Secret Service told him and the others not to take a shot. Not to take the shot. So what you're seeing right here, and Sleeping Volcano just put this in the chat. What you're seeing here is that this was a setup by the Secret Service. This was a setup by the Secret Service. Let me show you another shot, okay? I'm going to enlarge this photo so you can see it. This photo shows the sniper killed shows the sniper on top of the building after the Secret Service agent stopped him. Got taken out. He got taken out. He got taken out by this man here. The police department sniper team, the SWAT team, were hired by the Secret Service to be there. But again, the Secret Service did not give the word. The officer got fired. But I will bet you this. I will bet you that that officer will get hired by some other department. He might get hired by his own department, might get hired back. Might get hired back. But as for now, he's under investigation and they fired him. He lost his job for not following orders. As the investigation into the assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump intensified yesterday and Sunday, the U.S. Secret Service is coming under scrutiny as the questions mount on how the alleged gunman managed to fire a barrage of shots from the rooftop vantage point of the outdoor Pennsylvania rally stage where Trump was speaking from. The FBI identified the suspect gunman as 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. But again, I have reason to believe that that is not the exact identity of the gunman. Juby Joe is here in the chat. Thanks, Juby Joe, for coming back here. We appreciate your attendance here on our program. We missed you. Juby Joe's in the chat says, so layered circumstances that create complexity and confusion. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. The gunman was armed with an AR-15 style rifle. He fired up to 8 shots before the Secret Service sharpshooter shot and killed him, according to law enforcement sources. President Biden, in an Oval Office address Saturday, and again yesterday, urged calm and unity after the shooting, saying, quote, while we may disagree, we are not enemies. We're neighbors. We're friends. We're co-workers. We're citizens. And more importantly, we are fellow Americans. We must stand together. Biden rallied against the violence exhibited at the rally and warned, quote, we must not go down this road in America, unquote. Sources briefed on the investigation told ABC News ahead of the shooting that authorities had received reports of a person acting suspiciously and soon spotted the gunman on the roof. An officer tried to make it to the roof but was threatened by the shooter, and moments later, shots rang out. It's unclear whether the information was passed on to Secret Service, but I'm going to tell you this. Secret Service had airtime with the police radios. The Secret Service was monitoring the police radios because the people on the roof were hired from the police department to provide cover for the rally. And one of the police officers fired the shots and took out the gunman. WT Funny says, nope, it's him, I checked into it. Really? I'm still checking. I'm a former officer and I'm still checking. Interesting how you're still checking. Or you checked into it and it's him. I have my questions. The suspect appeared to be wearing a t-shirt and tan camouflage shorts that blended into the colors of the building he was perched upon the roof. The firearm was recovered at the scene of the assassination attempt. An AR-style weapon was legally purchased in 2013 by the suspect's father. An urgent trace was run by the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. Kevin Rojek, who is a special agent in charge of the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania FBI office. Let me show you a picture of Mr. Rojek. I want you to identify with who I'm talking about. This is the FBI special agent in charge of the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania FBI office. The Pittsburgh FBI office, including Mr. Rojek, held a press conference Saturday night. I watched that press conference 3 times. The Secret Service, head by Ms. Cheadle, also held a press conference on Sunday. I also watched that press conference thoroughly on Sunday. I wanted to make sure I did not miss anything. So I went through both press conferences thoroughly. Kevin Rojek, the special agent in charge of the Pittsburgh office, said a suspicious device was found in the suspect's car, and it was being analyzed. Another, they said, was found in his home, and they said both were rudimentary, meaning they were simple devices. Federal investigators said that they found no links between the suspect and any international terrorist group. Investigators said they are still looking into whether the suspect has any ties to domestic terrorism groups. Increasingly, the shooting is looking something like action of a lone wolf, according to sources. I don't think so. At this time, the information we have indicates that the shooter acted alone, according to Rojek. And there are currently no public safety concerns. That's according to the FBI Sunday afternoon. At present time, we have not identified an ideology associated with the subject, but I want to remind everyone that we're still very early in this investigation. As I said earlier, this investigation is going to take months, and possibly even a year. I'm just warning you right now. It's going to take a long time. Also on the call was FBI Director Christopher Wray. Again, I don't trust the FBI. But Christopher Wray was in on this call. He said the assassination attempt on President Trump was nothing short of an attack on our democracy and our democratic process. An attempt to assassinate a presidential candidate can only be described as absolutely despicable and will not be tolerated in this country. FBI Director or Special Agent Rojek said the suspect's gun and cell phone have been sent to the FBI lab in Quantico, Virginia to be analyzed. But guess what? Apparently, the cell phone has got a lock on it. And so far, the FBI has not been able to break that electronic lock on the suspect's cell phone. Special Agent Rojek said the suspect's family is cooperating with the investigation and added that the suspect had no known history of mental illness. In addition to investigating the shooting as an assassination attempt, Robert Wells, who is the Assistant Director of the FBI's Counterterrorism Division, said the case is also being probed as a potential domestic terrorism act. It's being probed as a potential domestic terrorism act. This has been since it is not a domestic act of terrorism. This has been said that this is not a domestic act of terrorism. At this point, the FBI has received more than 2,000 shooting tips. It's received more than 2,000 tips on the shooting. The suspect has no U.S. military affiliation. That is according to the Pentagon. Yes, I have done my homework on this. Meantime, details have emerged on the alleged shooter that we had. The shooter, Mr. Crooks, had worked for the Bethel Park Skilled Nursing Rehabilitation Facility. That was confirmed by ABC News on Sunday. He worked there as a facility dietary aide, and he passed a background check for employment. The Bethel Park Skilled Nursing Facility said, quote, "We are shocked and saddened to learn of his involvement. He performed his job without concern, and his background check was clean. We are fully cooperating with law enforcement officials at this time," according to Marcy Grimm, who's administrator for the center. So they basically have cleared Green at the center. But now Green, who is passed, is not a concern. But as I said, I don't believe it was Mr. Crooks. It's possibly someone else. Sleeping Volcano is saying Vivek Ramaswamy is speaking at the convention in Milwaukee. Now, Len Rom is here in the chat. Says it's all a big stage and they know we are on to them. So it's like they have a screenplay in Hollywood. I agree. It's like a big screenplay going on. And they have planned this step by step by step. As I said before, the Democrat leadership is in on this. The entire Democrat leadership is in on it. They have threatened President Trump's life. They have threatened his livelihood. They have put him in front of his own colleagues in Congress and impeached him and attempted second impeachment that didn't work. Since he's been out of the presidency, they've taken and convicted him, or not convicted, they've only convicted him of 34 crimes in New York. That's not going to stand. His crimes in Florida have been tossed out by the judge. His crimes allegedly in Florida has been tossed out by the judge because Jack Smith was never a federal prosecutor. The Democrats did not vet him in Congress. In order to be an actual federal prosecutor, you have to be vetted by Congress. Jack Smith was actually not a federal prosecutor. It was a lie. They hired him for the office, but they did not vet him out. So the judge in Florida threw the entire case out because Jack Smith lied. Jack Smith and the Democrat Party lied about it. Crazy, huh? Absolutely. The Democrats have put this whole thing together. And there's going to be heck to pay. It may take months to come out and prove it all, but it will be proven. It will be proven. Okay? It may take months, it might be a year, but it will come out. The truth will come out. And these Democrats, leaders, should be put in prison. And I am hoping that during President Trump's administration, they will be arrested and put in prison, including the President Trump and President Biden. President Trump will be completely taken out of consideration. All the cases against him will be thrown out. But Biden and his Democrats, they will be taken to task at some point. Canadian Patriot One from Canada is saying the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing, unfortunately. There is so much confusion about what happened because the Democrats are out of control. When our own president said last week that there's a target put up, a bullseye put up on President Trump. That may have had a process which ended up with the assassination attempt on Saturday evening. But it's not just that. It's happened many times. This has gone on for a very long time. It will come to an end at some point. Now, do you all have any questions about anything I've given you tonight? I know I've covered it fast. I've covered it furiously. I've given you the information. After I'm finished putting this video up for you, I'm going to put in our program description. At the bottom of this program here, you're going to see a program description. And in this program description, I'm going to list some sources. I will list some sources for my information. That way you can also follow what I know. As I come up with information, I will share it with you. I promise you that. By the way, during the past 24 hours, we have had an X 4.5 class solar flare launch off from the sun. An X 4.5 solar flare launched off from the sun. The preliminary plasma radiation has already reached the Earth. It traveled exceptionally fast. We have had radio transmission interruption, blackouts if you will, on the Earth sun side facing the Earth. The sun side facing the Earth. Affecting planes and air traffic control. NASA, with the space station and the satellites, have also been affected. SpaceX has lost 20 communication satellites as a result of that X-class flare. 20 communication satellites were splashed down in the ocean as a result of that X-class flare. Not to be outdone, some 5,000 other satellites had to be repositioned because that solar flare hit them. Solar flares have power. Solar flares have power in space, and they have power to affect us here on Earth. Our bodies are made up of about 70% water. 70% water. As a result of that, our brains and bodies, our entire bodies, can be affected by the plasma radiation. Plasma radiation also causes earthquakes. And this past weekend, right after the solar flare launch, guess what? Earth was affected, and we saw several 6.0 earthquakes. It's going to become ongoing. It's not over. Yes, we are going to see some aurora borealis in the northern and the southern part of our Earth. But the plasma radiation is going to still hit the Earth for another 3 days. You need to take efforts yourself to protect yourself. If you can, stay inside. Staying inside buildings will help protect you from solar radiation, plasma radiation. Diane Kellman says she felt off all day long, sluggish and headache. Yes, that can happen. That can happen. It can happen to all of us. So folks, take precautions. If you have to be outside, wear long sleeve shirts to protect you from excessive sunburn. I have personally lost plants in my garden. I've lost plants in my garden. They've also been affected by the heat. I'm going to try to revive some of them. But I think my tomatoes are gone. I had 4 tomato plants, and I think they're both mostly gone, which is sad. This plasma radiation could affect our electrical grid. Although if it's not already affected, it probably won't. But if we have continued solar flares like this, it could affect our grid. If the solar flares get to X-class 9, we could have another grid down event. We need to be aware of what's going on around us. That's why I'm feeding you this information. You need to be very much aware of what's happening around you. You need to have heads up. Your heads need to be on a swivel, brothers and sisters. Your heads need to be on a swivel. Now, I want to leave you with a few words here. I do this every night. Every night. I've been doing it for like 3.5 years. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to continue. Folks, I like to leave you with a spiritual thought. In the future, I may have some videos as well. Some short spiritual thoughts, videos. My spiritual thought comes tonight from Philippians chapter 2, verses 1 through 5. If there be therefore any consolation in Christ, if any comfort of love, any fellowship of the Spirit, if any bowels and mercies, fulfill ye my joy, that ye be like-minded, having the same love, being of one accord, and of one mind. Let nothing be done through strife or vainglory, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem other better than themselves. Look not every man on his own things, but every man also on the things of others. Let this be mind in you, which was also in Christ Jesus. We need to seriously think about that scripture. Not just us here, but everyone around the world. Each one of us can learn from that scripture. I want to thank all of our mods for doing an absolute wonderful job here tonight. We could have been in real trouble had some of these trolls gotten out of control. I appreciate all of our mods here. You guys are my true brothers and sisters in Christ. I love you all very much. Some of you are my dearest friends. I consider you very close to me. All of you are. I want to thank all of you here that have made this program good. I appreciate all of you sharing your information here. I appreciate all of you sharing information. That is the crux of this program. This is the crux of the program. We have reason to be here. We have reason to be here. I want everybody to know how much I care about you. If I didn't care, I wouldn't be here. If I didn't care, I wouldn't be here. God loves you. God loves you, just as I love you. Folks, you're the best. You're the best. I'm here for you. I'm here for your families. I'm here for your friends and your loved ones. I do this because I care. If I didn't care, I wouldn't be here at all. But I care. I ask God to bless you. I ask God to bless you always. May God be with you this day and always. God be with you until we meet again. If anything else happens tonight, we'll be back here with you as soon as the information becomes available. Tomorrow we will be here sometime after 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Eastern. I love you all. Thank you all for being here. God bless you. Thank you all for taking time to be with us here. And God bless your families. I love you all. Take care, everybody. God be with you until we meet again. We'll see you on the other side. God bless.